I won the lottery 48 hours after he left me. The crawling back was spectacular. I had been with Dominic for 4 years. Not spectacularly unhappy years. That is important to say honestly, because the story reads cleaner if he was a monster, and he wasn't quite that. He was simply a person who had decided, somewhere around year 3, that I represented a ceiling rather than a companion. He said as much, in kinder language, on a Sunday evening while I was making pasta. He had clearly rehearsed it. The pasta finished cooking while he talked, and I stood there holding a wooden spoon, listening to the architecture of an exit I had not seen being constructed. He was gone by Tuesday. The apartment felt cavernous in the specific way of spaces recently reorganized around an absence. I took Wednesday off and allowed myself the undignified but necessary experience of feeling completely terrible without trying to manage it into something more presentable. On Thursday morning, I stopped at a petrol station and bought a scratch card. I do this occasionally, not habitually, simply as a small irrational gesture toward the possibility that the universe is occasionally generous. I scratched it in my car in the forecourt. I sat very still for a long time afterward. The amount was not the largest prize ever awarded in the history of the country. It was, however, a number so far outside the gravitational field of my ordinary life that my brain initially processed it as an error. I checked it 4 times. I called the claims line from my car while a lorry waited behind me to use the pump, and the woman on the other end confirmed, with professional calm, that what I was reading was accurate. I drove to work. I told nobody. I called a financial advisor that afternoon, a solicitor the day after. I began quietly restructuring my life around a fact that still did not feel entirely like a fact. Dominic called 11 days later. His tone was the particular tone of someone who has spent time carefully reassembling warmth they had recently packed away. He said he wondered if he had been hasty. He said ambition didn't have to mean solitude and that perhaps he had framed things poorly. I let him talk. He was good at talking. When he finished, I asked what had changed between the Sunday he left and the Saturday he was calling. He said he had simply had time to reflect. I asked whether any of that reflection had been prompted by something specific he had heard from mutual acquaintances, because information had a way of moving through that particular network with considerable speed. The pause was longer this time. He said he didn't know what I meant. I told him I hoped the reflection continued to be useful, wished him genuinely well, and ended the call. He called twice more over the following 3 weeks. I let both go to voicemail. The messages were variations on the same architecture, warm, careful, pointing toward reconciliation without ever quite arriving there. I have not responded. What I have done is buy a house 40 minutes outside the city with an overgrown garden full of potential and a kitchen large enough to cook in without feeling like the walls are making decisions for me. I have a dog now, actually have one, not just discussed having one. Her name is Sable and she sleeps at the foot of my bed with a confidence I find deeply aspirational. Dominic represented a ceiling, he said. He wasn't wrong. He simply had the architecture backwards. The ceiling was his. I was the one who left it.